I think the reaction in the UAE to the visit is of great joy, really. They've invested a lot of time and attention in this. They've been working on developing relations with the Vatican for quite some time. I mean, it's over 50 years since we had a Catholic church first built in Abu Dhabi. And the UAE is genuinely committed to promoting the idea of tolerance and religious dialogue within the country as well as outside. And it's seen, I think, the visit as a way of, making sure that there's more recognition of the UAE's agenda, that the UAE does believe in religious dialogue and relations with the Vatican. So they're very, very pleased indeed about the visit. I think they're delighted. Initially, the idea would never have occurred to me, but I was very privileged a couple of years ago to be part of the UAE delegation to the Vatican, on which visit some of the initial preparations for this visit were made. And so for the last couple of years I've been looking forward with great anticipation to the visit. But I must say that being in the Arabian Peninsula after my more than 40 years here, to see in the streets of Abu Dhabi the flags of the Vatican and the UAE flying side by side is really quite a remarkable sight and quite a moving occasion. The aspect of tolerance is something that is really embedded in the UAE way of life. And we've had a multinational, multicultural community here for decades, since the country began developing after the discovery of oil. And inside the UAE there's always been a recognition that the country is built not just by Emiratis, but by the expatriate communities that have come here. And the recognition of the value that they have given to the country extends to a recognition of the value of the cultural influences that have come in from overseas, the religious views that have come in. It's part of the UAE way of life, and it's always been recognized as that. And the UAE perhaps believes that this message of interfaith dialogue, cultural relationships, is something that is a value elsewhere in the world. The idea that you respect people for who they are, and you respect the beliefs that people have. They're never going to be always the same as yours, but this is something that is the way in which the world needs to move forward. So from the UAE point of view, the idea of engaging in such a public way in discussions with the Pope and having meetings here to talk about religious dialogue, to talk about working together for the sake of a better humanity, this fits within the UAE's own objectives, but the UAE likes to work with other people, and the UAE view of Islam is one that involves recognition of the values of other beliefs and other faiths. So the visit itself fits very well into what the UAE itself has tried to achieve, and the message that the UAE tries to put forward to the rest of the world as well. I don't think there's particularly any concern. I mean, the UAE has had Christian heritage of its own. I mean, we go back 1400 years, we had a Christian monastery on the island of Sir Bani Yas, and that is very much recognized as being part of the UAE's own heritage. And the UAE view of Islam is one that it's not exclusivist, it's not extremist, it's not rejecting the values of other faiths and other peoples. So the UAE is quite confident in the approach it's taking, and is delighted to be able to work with other faith communities around the world to do so. Well, I think in part, recognizing we've got perhaps 900,000 or 1 million Catholics in the UAE, many of whom, if not most of whom, would really love to attend an event, there was a recognition you've got to have something in the largest possible space. Unfortunately, the Zayed Sports City, where the Mass will take place, will only accommodate about 135,000 people. If there had been space for 500,000, then I suspect you might have had 500,000 looking for tickets. The UAE views it, I think, primarily as a logistics problem, and it really is a huge logistics problem. My daughter's school is closed tomorrow simply because of the traffic congestion there's going to be on the island of Abu Dhabi. But the idea of having an open air mass is something that we're quite happy to welcome. It's unusual, hasn't happened before, but then we haven't had a Catholic Pope visiting the peninsula before, so it's time to create new precedents and to make the best possible opportunity of the occasion, and to give the greatest possible opportunity to the UAE's Catholic population to see His Holiness. Well, I can't talk for what will happen outside the UAE, but I think within the UAE there's been a genuine interest amongst the Muslim population of the country, in particular amongst the Emiratis. You know, what is the visit? What's it all about? There's a welcoming of it, a bit of curiosity, yes, which is natural, and there's excitement amongst Emiratis too. I mean, they will not be going to the Mass, but they can see the joy, if you like, amongst the UAE's Catholic population, and they're sharing in some of that joy. And I see it amongst school kids. They're fascinated by this, and that's Emirati school kids, Muslim school kids, as well as, you know, Christian school kids. I see it amongst ordinary people. There's a genuine interest in this visit, and I think that it will help to spread recognition more widely of the values of sharing each other's ideas, learning more about other people, what they believe, how they behave, and so on. So in a quiet way, I think it will increase a groundswell, if you like, towards not just tolerance, but understanding and recognition and respect amongst the different communities we have in the Emirates. Well, I was very fortunate 25 years ago to be involved in excavations on an island called Sir Bani Yas to the west of Abu Dhabi. And during those excavations, we discovered a building that we realized was actually a monastery that was built probably the early 7th century AD, around the time of the birth of Islam, and lasted certainly well into the 8th century. And that was the first physical evidence, the physical proof of the presence of Christianity in southeastern Arabia before Islam. And I was actually, you know, rather excited by this discovery. It is one of very considerable international importance, but it was also fascinating to see the response of Emiratis to the news of this discovery. And I remember being a little bit nervous. How was I going to arrange to tell the president, the devoutly Muslim president of a devoutly Muslim country, that we had found a Christian monastery on his private island? And our current Minister of Tolerance, Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak, told me, "Peter, you don't have to worry, Sheikh Zayed is going to be delighted." And he was indeed delighted. And I know that he discussed the discovery with a number of senior visitors from overseas. I know that during his discussions, for example, with Prince Charles of Britain about issues of interfaith dialogue, Sheikh Zayed mentions to Prince Charles, well, we're very proud. We have a Christian monastery of our own on the island of Sir Bani Yas. And ever since, in the development of the UAE's persona on tolerance and religious dialogue, there's been increasing mention of this aspect of the UAE's own history, that there is a Christian heritage in the UAE, and it dates back a very long way. And the world has moved on and the world has changed, but the UAE is very proud of the fact that it has its own Christian heritage dating back 1400 years. And remarkably, although that church, that monastery was founded by the Church of the East, one of the Eastern Orthodox churches, as a result of schism in that church over 400 years ago, one branch of that church, the Chaldean Catholic Church, is now in full communion with Rome. So if you like, there is a link from 1400 years ago into today's visit by His Holiness the Pope to Abu Dhabi.